What's up, Meisterville? Welcome to episode 7 of the Creative Podcast. 7 episodes. Jeez, coming up on 10. We are here with the team from Young Nelson. It's so good to see you guys. So we got Pemelo and Umpile. You guys are brothers, right? Am I getting this right?
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
jealous
my
of
brother.
you guys. Wish I had a brother to help me with all this stuff. But anyway,
It would be great.
yeah. But
The
anyway, yeah.
workflows
So
later.
yeah, I mean it shows in the work. So recently just got Young Nelson, the first issue from you guys. Thank you guys so much for that. It was a really good read. I'm gonna be having their links in the description down
Pleasure.
below so you guys can go get that for yourselves. So let's talk Young Nelson though. I want to talk about the genesis of Young Nelson, the origin. Like how did you come to that idea? What made you, create this character, Young Nelson?
The way really it came about was through a hip hop song that I'd actually written, that I ended up titling Young Nelson, and it was at a time when I was looking to actually give up hip hop, and I told myself, you know what, let me write one more song that I think if I even look back at, I could still say, you know what, I could write. Like, it was maybe more of a marketability issue rather than an art issue or creativity issue. So once I'd written that song, the more I played it to myself, the more I listened to it, is the more I started thinking of what I was saying and seeing a character developing from that. And obviously it was at a time when I personally was going through difficulties and studying what comic books are about, the whole psychology of creating heroes, as a way to imbue those values within yourself or the people who you wish to communicate that message to. I saw it as not only as a vehicle of, if I turn young Nelson into a character, it would not just inspire myself, but I saw how many young people who might be going through the same challenges I am going through, would be inspired by that. So obviously, once I'd kind of written down a rough idea of what the character looks like, I needed an illustrator. And we tried some other guys, but it was weird. I tried other people before I came back and worked with my little brother. So into this character, I kind of built the metaphor around that song.
Oh, okay, okay. So, Umpila, you the digital artist, right? So, how was that process for you? Like, how was
Yes, sir.
creating that stuff for you? How did it feel?
Yes, sir. It was a learning journey, bro. Like, because my foundation is traditional art, and digital art was like in my peripheral. It wasn't something you kind of thought about. Oh, yeah, when I get to varsity, I'm gonna pick up digital art. So, just to put on that hat, was it was another obstacle. I remember when I brought the graphics tablet. I wanted to sell it like the first week. I was like, this ain't gonna work out, you know. But thanks to YouTube, you kind of watched other digital artists, their creative process, and I found a guy on YouTube that really, in like translated that whole art form in a way that I could understand, and then it was just starting to practice. And I think around October, I remember telling my brother, he was at work around that time, like, okay, bro, I'm ready to start. Like, I want to go for it, and whatever comes out on the other side, hopefully it's a comic book. So yeah, man, 16 pages in, and we had the first copy, and it was honestly humbling. When the first time we printed a copy, it was like, yeah, no, that's it, we're stuck. And I was telling Pamela as well, like, it's crazy if you create a superhero about like somebody that doesn't give up, and then you give up on the project, then you're kind of like a hypocrite, because like you don't even believe the thing that you're trying to create, you know.
Mm,
So that was like, I think what Pamela means when he says it kind of helped you get through your own hurdles on life. And even when we hit a rough patch where they're like, man, what would young Nelson do? So it kind of has given us that extra push to just like, go, go
Yeah.
for the jugular.
now that's been a common thing with a lot of comic books. I mean, even their inception. I mean, I don't know if you guys know. Well, I think you know about this because I saw one of your interviews actually on a radio show. I'm forgetting the name of the radio show, but you named a fact that a lot of people don't know when it comes to comics. Like when Superman was created, they were sending Supermans to
Yeah.
like the front line and stuff like that, and Captain America's to
Yeah.
like the soldiers and stuff. So comic books,
Mm.
like I know a lot of people look at it as, it's just cartoons. It's just you're just drawing on paper, what. But
Yeah.
they actually have a huge impact on how they even guide society and help people's mental states.
Yeah.
I can name a couple of times where comic book characters helped me push through a couple of things on my own end. So I definitely believe in all of that stuff. So another thing that I noticed in the book, and I don't know if this is intentional, and I'm gonna leave the powers and all of that stuff a mystery because I
Yeah.
want people to get in. And I know you got other plans for it. I'm kind of seeing it throughout the book. But one thing I really noticed is that you guys kind of leave like nuggets of South African history that people may not know. Like in your song, which I listened to, which I really enjoy, by the way, it's on
Yeah.
my phone right now and all of that stuff. But with that song, you like list a couple of people that people don't really know when it comes to the struggle. Like Robert Sobukwe was a name you dropped, and people don't really know Robert Sobukwe like that. So I was wondering if that's something that permeates into your work, because even
Yeah.
making the character a boxer,
Nice,
a lot
Thank
of
you.
man.
people,
Nice.
a lot of people didn't know. Like, yeah, no, it's prevalent, but a lot of people didn't know that Nelson used to box. Like they know him for being in
Yeah.
Robben Island for 27 years, but they didn't know
Yeah.
they didn't know that he can knock a man out, he can murder a man. They didn't know about that stuff. So
Yeah.
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 that was the first thing I noticed when I saw the book. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, if you can talk about that, like your thought process into that. Are you trying to? I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I'm saying, are you trying to like teach some facts about South African history that people may not know through your books? Is that something that's prevalent in your process?
Yeah, I think, when it comes to creating fictional projects, any fictional story, in my opinion, always has to be inspired by reality. You know, I think one of the things that determines whether a fictional project succeeds or not is how well the audience member can relate the content to his reality, you know. And so it's one of those things when I look at movies like, for example, a Black Panther, I'm like, why Black Panther? Why not Hancock? Why not, maybe when Falcon first came in?
War
Why,
Machine.
yeah, War Machine? Why, you get what I mean? And I think if we go back into the whole psychological aspect, it's that people would look at Black Panther and they could relate with those elements in the story, the vibranium, I don't know, the suit, the
Yeah.
women, the strong women, you know. So my
Eh,
vision is like I have
R.I.P.
to,
Chadwick. Sorry, guys. Just have to quick give him a
yeah,
R.I.P. Yeah.
man,
Hey.
Eh,
yeah,
Yeah, man.
that was a rough one.
yeah,
But
man.
continue. Didn't mean to
Appreciate.
cut you off.
Not a problem. Yeah, and I think that's something that I realized that, we have such a rich culture, but more than that, I need to understand, even when I think about it, I'm always kind of, it's almost like I sit with myself and I debate with myself certain aspects, because I'm like, everything means something. If I put the old apartheid flag in there, it means something. If I put in the new South African flag, it means something. And so when I use his martial arts style, boxing, it had a lot
Mm,
of metaphors to me. First of all, obviously that linkage, but I also thought boxing is a limiting fighting style. You look at a
mm,
Batman, he tries to know every martial art style. But I was
yeah.
like, for me, this felt very cool because I'm like, this is one of those moments where I've heard this thing, less is more. And this is
Mm,
why I was like, okay, I get it. What will make young Nelson unique, obviously, is the link to the Mr. Mandela, that he's a boxer, he's a genius, an African patriot. But the other element is that when I thought of superheroes, I'm like, most superheroes know like 500 martial art styles. You know, so I'm like, it'll be dope for people to see a guy who knows one arts martial art style, and it's also a limiting martial arts style because it's your hands. You
yeah.
think, how does he go up against somebody who does taekwondo, who's like
Yeah.
a weapons specialist, you know? And I'm like, for me, that was also kind of like, yeah, people would want to read how this guy goes up against the baddest, you know, villains in the world. So yeah, I think it was like I said, I would sit and counsel with myself, like, okay, should I make it more like a guy who knows like taekwondo? But I'm like, then it's gonna be generic. then I'm like, okay, what elements from my understanding of heroism can I draw? And I was like, this is kind of dope. I love the fact that it's an homage to Mr. Mandela's life, and I think also it kind of shows the militant old man. Like I think everybody loves the cuddly old man who's like,
Yeah, they
you
they
know,
forget they forget he
a
was the
baby.
founder of MK.
Yeah. So I was also thinking about that. That this cute old man, is also able to kill you. Like if you said something that he didn't like, he could life you out. So
No, yeah,
I think
hey.
that's the beauty, and I think that's what a hero has. The hero is like a Superman. Superman can kill you, but he's also cool. You're comfortable around him. You're not thinking Superman can get pissed and choke me out. And I think that's the beauty of it. Their violence and their violence is kind of beautiful as well, but they're also kind of moral. So you know that if they wanted to fight with you, it would be a moral reason why they did it. So yeah, man, I think the boxing for me was like almost like a trigger for me. It made me say that's why it's going to be unique. So I just
Mm,
ran with it after I kind of felt, yeah. So I actually always try and do that. How can I reference our culture, our history, without making it obvious? And I think that's almost from the hip hop perspective. Hip hop is always about presenting your idea in a fresh way. Somebody could say the same idea, but you need to say, how do I use everybody, hip hop is always about how much money I have. It
mm.
could also be poetic, it could be about a love song, but you're always trying to use new words, new metaphors, to say the same stuff. So I think in a way I'm trying to do that, trying to present a fresh hero, but I'm obviously going to study the Batmans, the Supermans, but it's always going to feel South African. It's always going to feel like it's drawn from our history, our culture, and our destiny in a way. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think you can't escape from that because this stuff has been out for so long. And yes, America, they push the
Yeah.
whole culture and everything. But I've always said that when you tell the same story in a different setting, it always feels different. It never feels the same. Like
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you bring something, like when you
Yeah.
bring a superhero to the townships, like imagine a superhero in Soweto somewhere. That's a whole new
Mm,
dynamic. There's whole new lingos. there's
Yeah.
there's so many different
mhm,
things that even if it's okay, he's got to stop this guy, the journey to go through that, it's not going to look the same as a Spider-Man or something
Yeah.
like that. So yeah, I always say
yeah.
tell your story, and people, yeah, don't worry too much about the details, because that's where you mess up, in my personal opinion. If you're just like,
Yeah.
no, but I gotta
Yeah.
really change it to this. No, chief, the comparisons will be
Yeah.
there. Just accept them. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
speaking of that, right?
Yeah.
You guys were at Comic Con. You were at the Comic Con 2018, twenty
Yeah.
nineteen, and the virtual con, right? What was your experience like
Mm.
being set up with a booth and everything at Comic Con? How did that feel like to be in that whole presence in the artist alley and all of that stuff? If you can talk about that experience from both your perspectives, it'd be nice to hear.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so as far as the experience, it started off very obviously nervous. You're nervous. You're trying to basically you're like a salesman the first few hours of engaging with people because you're thinking my idea could be whack. Like the doubt goes to, like you're thinking, oh wait, okay, it's happening. Like it hits you like I'm trying to sell. Like you look at Batman, you look at Superman, you look at Ant-Man, you're like, hey man, these guys are multi-million rand dollar franchises, and you come in here with. Then you started thinking, no, hey man, this is original, this is fresh. You play the story in your head of what the character is. You're like, hey man, nobody's ever done what we're doing right now. And I think that was the thing where you had to psych yourself up. And then I think the first kid who bought the comic, his name was Blue, right?
Shout out Blue.
Shout
Hey,
out
Blue.
Blue. Yeah.
I hope he's
Still waiting
watching,
on the
or
second issue.
she's watching. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a he or
yeah.
a she. I don't know.
So once I kind of explained to him the character.
No, I was just saying, I hope she's
He he
watching,
he
or
he
oh,
he.
he. No, you have
Yeah.
to be careful about these things, right? I don't want to
Yeah.
get canceled.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah.
anyway, yeah,
So
continue.
the, the, yeah, so that was the first when I had an inkling of we can do this. Like the first issue was the most important, or the first copy to be sold to a non-family member was the one that said, okay, then it means there's something here. And also a young person, you know. So you're like, okay, this isn't some old guy who's like, oh, I like the name Mandela. You
Mm.
know, it's actually somebody who's young, who's listening to different, he's got a whole option of heroes to go through. But he's like, let me give this guy a chance. I like the story, you know. And so another person came and another person, and you start seeing how many people, different age groups, different races, like different backgrounds, but they like the story, you know. And I think for me, what I was always saying is like, what I love about comic books versus other books is that if your origin story is dope, it doesn't matter what happens after that. You can always do a retcon. You
Yeah,
can always do a retcon and come back to the origin story, you know.
yeah.
Every movie that really comes out of a superhero story, 90% of the time, is going to be the origin story,
Mm.
you know, remakes of the origin story. And I think that's where I was like, this origin story is selling, and therefore everything we do after this, we need to be honest to the source material, you know. And that's what inspired me. Like after I started seeing, I think we sold about 300 copies. You know, it said to me,
Yo.
hmm.
Thanks,
So
bro. Thanks,
you
bro.
know,
Thanks,
that
man.
made me say that's people that you engaged with, they loved the story idea. So you're like, what we need now is obviously the marketing, but the idea is good, you know. And I think sometimes it also something where I was like, look, even if it took me a couple of years to get it right, I would still kind of work at it, change elements of the story, which I was like, I was willing to do everything to get the story right, you know. And the fact that you know that the story is right, you know that you now have to build the support structure around that. You need to build a conveyor belt of comic books coming. You need to just package it properly. But happy that the first story is right,
Yeah.
and now we're just looking at the formula to say we did well at Comic Con. Let's get better. Let's not be in Comic Con 2025 and it's like, hey, we still got young Nelson. We want
Mm.
new characters, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, and I think the online con inspired us. I mean, you get in contact with us said, not only did we move from the nervousness to now selling those 300 copies, the fact that people are like, hey man, how's young Nelson doing? You know, the fact that it's, you know, it wasn't a fad, you know, it feels good to say this is something that we can work at and kind of be in the long distance of one day this will be an animation, this will be a film, this would be on the level of the Marvels and the DC. So yeah, it was inspiring for me.
Yeah.
No, I think the foundation is really
I'd say
solid.
the
Yeah.
same thing as well, bro. I think just leading up to it, there were a lot of nerves, and it was one of those things. Smell and I went. I think we spoke about it. It's like we went from, oh man, what if we don't sell anything, to, hey man, we could at least sell what, you know. So I, like you said, once that first copy was out the way, once you started engaging with people and found out like they don't buy it, that was like, when we said, you know what, let's, as much as like we're there to kind of know like if people genuinely like it, like let's also enjoy that process. I think it was, so I think, yeah, day one that was pretty much it. Day two, three, like we got the hang of it, and we were just enjoying the interactions, conversations with parents. Some people just wanted to sign the Young Nelson poster. Some people were like, can I get the copy as well? So like you say, we met a lot of different people from all over, someone from Egypt, someone from Ghana. So it really did let you know that, like, Young Nelson can also cross into different borders. So it was very humbling, man. Yeah. And we were doing our homework, finding out that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles also started at Comic Con. So just all of those little,
Yeah, and they
like
actually
little.
sold 300 copies at their con. So I was like, I felt, hey, is that like an omen? But yeah,
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
it's literally there to know some of the greatest comic books started there. Some of the greatest stories that, like, we like geeked out about it, they started there. So
it's
yeah,
inspiring.
man, very inspiring. And we like, oh, next Comic Con we want to be there. The next one we want to be there.
Yeah,
So yeah, bro, that was the experience.
No, definitely the stuff you're putting out, personally speaking, for me, as a person who's been reading comic books since he was 8 years old. So I'm not I don't want to say I'm an expert, but expert.
Bro, you
Anyway,
there?
yeah, I'm saying I've been reading comic books since I was 8 years old. So I don't want to say I'm an expert,
Yeah.
but I think I'm an expert. So with that being said, Yeah, with that being said, I think the
Yeah.
stuff you're putting
Yeah.
out, definitely it has something to it, and it's something that I've been talking about for a long time, especially in the comic book industry. A lot of people
Mm.
seem to be fine with like race changing characters, or if a white dude creates a black character, then it's supposedly enough. And I'm like, no, look, if you enjoy that stuff, if you enjoy it, that's fine. I'm not here to take away
Mm.
people's characters and stuff. But I
Yeah.
think there's an authenticity there and there's an originality there that needs to be as
Mm.
applauded and as pushed, which is why I created
Mm.
this podcast in the first place. Because I definitely felt
Yeah.
like, if I can't fix it myself, first off, I'm going to make noise
Mm.
anyway so people can come see me. Because
Yeah.
that's how that works. House,
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
If you protest, like, that's when people pay attention. But
Yeah.
but yeah, then using that attention to push the projects that I feel need to get that push, because I
Yeah.
definitely see a future for young Nelson in that sense. And I definitely think it would be a way
Thank you.
Yeah.
to teach history that needs to be taught, that doesn't get taught.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
Yeah.
experienced this in school, but I learned more about Churchill and the King or Queen of England than I
Yeah.
ever did about apartheid. I still don't know stuff about apartheid. I still don't even know stuff about before that time, or like before all of that stuff. So when you were showing me things in Young Nelson that I had researched, and I was like, oh, so you could actually tell somebody that Nelson wasn't this dude who just went to prison as this big icon figure. He was a boxer. He was underground. He was with Mkonto Wesizwe when they were first formed. There's a whole lot of history there that can be explored through a book like
Yeah.
Young Nelson. So yeah, it's crossing
Yeah.
borders, and 300 copies. 300 copies is nothing to sneeze at. Like, I'm telling you, I know people
Yeah.
who couldn't even sell 10. 300 copies is a
Wow.
Yeah.
good job. So I want to say congratulations to
Thank
you
you.
guys on that. You
Thank,
definitely
thank
have a
you.
Thank you.
future with this property. I'm here for it. I'm waiting to buy the next issue and the next issue after that and the next issue after that. As many as issues as how it goes. And if you're going to be creating a whole universe, that's definitely what we need, especially in the South African comic book industry.
Yeah.
So, getting into that a little bit, how do you guys feel about the industry in general? Like, how's the industry in general feeling to you? Like the climate right now, the climate as it was before, that type
Yeah.
of thing. How you feeling about that stuff? If you don't mind talking about it, like, what's your
Yeah.
perspectives on
I
it?
think the industry is being slept on really from all angles really. In that, for me, I look at comic books similar to hip hop culture, right? I'm like, you can find somebody who studied visual arts, somebody who studied uh, writing, and actually becomes a great comic book writer. But if you look at the creators of Superman, you might look at the creators of, um, let's say, in a way, who's this? Stan Lee as well. They were not formally trained to become comic book creators. It's really about the creative of the individual, like a graffiti artist, you know. But then the thing is, the project has such a spin-off value. Like, imagine creating a Superman in Africa. There's so much spin-off for merchandising, for animation, for television, then also for education. Because I'm like, one of the reasons I believe American and European kids are so eager to read is because they know there's people on the other side, creators, story writers on the other side, who know what characters to put in storybooks so kids read. So kids read about Ben 10, but they're not thinking about, I'm learning my ABCs, I'm learning all of these complex educational ideas. They're just thinking, oh, Ben 10 is I want to know what happens to Ben 10 next. So if we don't increase, you were mentioning, for example, uh, representation, is that you can get a white guy to create a black character, but it's almost like singing a song that you didn't write or you don't connect with the words. The person reading knows when it's like, that's what I'm saying. Why Hancock? Why not Hancock? Why not Falcon? Why not War Machine? Why Black Panther? Because the people watching could read, oh, this is created by somebody who understands the nuance that I go through, that I experience. So I think the industry for me is a dormant industry. Very much, I would say, like hip hop before people realized that hip hop was the money spinner that it was, because we don't need the the bookstores. You still need, there's I think an organization that works with books, but I don't think comic books are seen as books, if you get what I mean. It's
Yeah.
almost like they were caught somewhere in between entertainment and publishing. So it's like a you're not so much a book that you can get the channels for distribution. But at the same time, you're not such an entertainment tool that, for example, an MTV or uh, the classical spaces where a pop culture item would fit. So I think it's on incumbent. I guess that's where the pioneer label would come up across, is that you probably now need those first projects where people are like, what are comic books? Oh, there's an African comic book. So the Kwezis, the Young Nelsons, the new characters, that until there's such a pantheon that maybe some politicians in publishing's child is like, I like Young Nelson. And then they're like, who's Young Nelson? And then, that chain reaction of events that could create an industry. But for now, I think the industry is dormant. But I'm not in an pessimistic way saying it's dormant. It's dormant, but there's so much wealth here. There's so much creation of jobs here. There's so much. It's actually a bit frustrating, but it's also inspiring to say that when in almost like a gold mine, but you need the government to say, okay, let's subsidize publishers. Let's subsidize the guys who are gonna draw these characters, so that they're not worried about where the next meal comes from. And once you kind of have like the investment, then creative just create art, and then that's when the conveyor belt starts. Publishers will then publish the artwork, distribute it, put it in bookstores. Then it becomes a normal thing to find a Kwezi, a Young Nelson, 4 or 5 different African creators creating characters for African youth. So yeah,
Mm.
I think there's a long road ahead of us, the long road to freedom of comic book publishing. But I'm optimistic that there will be a breakthrough in there will, over time, through persistence, be a point where the nation now knows that this is an industry that generates a lot of income.
A
Yeah,
lot of money. Yo, it's a lot of yo, it's a lot of
I think
money.
it's your turn.
Yeah, it's I honestly would utter the same sentiments as Pimelo. It's I'm not sure if it's still dormant and or if it's in its growth phase yet. Like I haven't seen like I don't know, like the little points, or I don't know, it hasn't ticked the boxes yet for me to say like it's a growing industry. But there is honestly a certain level of awareness and attention to it now, obviously with certain media houses covering the event, and I think even the media houses that were at the first and second event, as well as the sponsors that do show up for that event. So there is a genuine interest, but I feel like it's more from, yeah, so I genuinely feel like it's from, I'd say, the brands that are already familiar with comic book culture, that show up to the event. So it's when we're doing our research, for instance, there was not a lot within the South African context. Like a lot of like our insights we had to generate from a couple of other countries, but to actually find out, the numbers and percentages and market share in South Africa, that information is not there,
Mm.
and that kind of shows us that there's still a lot to be done when you can't Google comic books in South Africa, and there's,
A catalog of titles or character or
you
he
know
creators and
yeah, so that was the, I don't know how to put it, the thing that we had to, I guess, overcome and come to terms with, and say, you know what, this has to change, or there has to be you know um a certain amount of activity for people to cover this, and that
Mm.
were Google searchable,
Yeah.
and for someone who's in France and is like, oh, I love what's happening in the South African context, for them to, if they're writing a paper on comic books in South Africa, for them to have information to source, so I honestly, fam, I do feel like there's a lot to be done in that aspect. But again, it goes to Kamala's sentiments, where you say that's where the whole pioneering conversation comes in, to say that, when people are looking at, okay, a reference point. For our reference point, it was honestly Kwezi, like we had to understand what's already there. And we found Kwezi and said, okay, so there is a comic book in South Africa. It's like, that's good. There's one,
Yeah.
that we know about, and to then say, okay, fine, let's be the second. So yeah, um, it's frustrating, because even when we're sitting down on the table with sponsors, they want to see numbers, and
Yeah.
and you can't, like I'm saying, you can't, you can only kind of leverage off of, El Comic Con to say, this is the people that are attending, this is how many people will be in the presence of, for them to be like, I'll risk it. But I think in terms of a sponsor, or someone coming in, will probably look at the next maybe 3 to 5 years, where it's like, oh, okay, no, I'm very familiar with this event and with what you guys are trying to do.
No,
um
another thing that I'm
there's
planning
still a
to
lot
do
to be
on
done,
my channel. Oh, sorry,
but
man.
we're
You're
up
still
for the
talking.
challenge.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And just to close it off, I always use, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble with people, but I always use Casper Invest as a reference point, to say, before Casper, South Africans didn't really know how to engage with the genre of hip hop. They didn't understand the importance of buying a ticket and going to that event. And he had to teach people how to engage with his product and his brand. And before he can then expect people to show up. And I think that's like the next step for the comic book industry, to teach people how to engage with books, how to engage with comic books, um before then we can then say, okay, I know the industry is growing, because we can create as much as we want, but there also has to be that demand on the other side. And that is where the education and, us actually showing up at Comic-Con and teaching people, for them to be like, we want more of this. So yeah, man, and it doesn't hurt that everyone that, takes time to listen to our story, they say, what, I'd want more. So it does genuinely also say, okay, we're on the right path. So yeah.
No, that was two great perspectives over there. I really like what everything that you guys were saying, because I mean, I also say this: as much as I make noise, we have to be there to make the stuff and to make the people want the stuff. We can't you
Yeah.
can't you can't beg somebody who never gave you anything to start giving you stuff. You know what I'm saying? You
Mm.
can't.
Yeah,
But I also
yeah.
say that to say, if you're a consumer and you're complaining about these things, buy. Don't complain with your mouth, complain with your money. Like, pay for this originality and this content. Don't just be here. Don't just be here. When you're just here,
Yeah.
I don't take you seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
went to con and I was like, I am buying every original comic book that I possibly can. I think I spent three
Nice.
Yeah.
thousand rand there on local comic books. It was insanity. People were like,
Oh,
aren't
Wow.
damn.
yeah, like people were like,
Well,
aren't you gonna eat today?
thank you.
And I said, no, this is
Yeah,
I'm fast.
yeah, no,
it's for
not
the
today.
culture.
Today I'm eating this content for the culture. And my sister looked at me, she's like, you're gonna
Wow.
starve, you're gonna fall down. There's gonna be no you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice,
man.
bro.
Thank
That
you.
that was like, even when I hit you guys up, I want to also get a t-shirt, by the way. I want to know how much your t-shirts are
Yeah,
going for and everything. Because that's
yeah.
you
Cool.
have really cool merchandise, but I'll talk to you that off cam. But another thing I
All
Okay.
wanted to
right.
talk about is you guys keep bringing up hip hop music, which I'm a huge fan. Like, if anybody knows me, there was even one time where a quick story. Even one time, my cousin tried to put some house music on my phone, and it didn't transfer. And he was just like, "Yo, your phone even rejects house with it." It's like, unless
Yeah,
it's
It's
hip
been
hop, it doesn't get on the
pre-programmed.
phone.
yeah.
Was custom designed at the store.
Yeah,
Ish, like when I went there, I told them nothing else.
yeah.
It was so
Yeah,
funny because he was trying,
Respect,
like, we were
man.
using Bluetooth, because remember when that was a thing, when people used to transfer via Bluetooth, and the Bluetooth just rejected the song. It was so funny. But yeah, with hip hop and everything, I just wanted to know, what was your entry points into hip hop actually, because I'm seeing it inspires a lot of your work. I'm seeing it does a lot for your music,
yeah,
Yeah.
musically and everything. So who was the artists that was molding everything around around
yeah.
you and all of that stuff? Like, who are you listening to where it just made that click for you?
Oh man.
Um, so it's funny enough. I was listening to the Shaka Zulu theme song, right?
Okay.
Um, I just like the tribal sounds because sometimes although I say hip hop, with hip hop you can actually listen to other sounds to create that theme. So I was listening to the Shaka Zulu theme song, and that just that tribal sound kind of gave me an idea of like, imagine, like I don't want to sing now because I got that shower voice. Um, yeah, but just I I mean I just think that theme song is a classic, and I was trying to find something similar, something like a hero song basically. And for me, obviously, I reinterpret. I was like, if this was like a hip hop song, how would you phrase it? How would you, what words would you use? What does the hero do? And so from there, I listened to quite a bit of Black Thought. More the more conscious material, the Nas.
You thought that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to find the storytellers. Yeah, Nas, Kanye West a bit, a lot of conscious material. Obviously, Kanye West for me was kind of the most poetic when he was starting the first three albums, you know.
Yeah.
And I was looking for that. Even if you think of Young Nelson, I took the concept from like Young Thug, Young Killer, Young. I was like, what if you had a young, but then the next word is kind of like positive, like a young
Yeah.
president, So I was like, because
Yeah,
I was like
everybody out here is named
hip
Young
hop
Murderer
and,
and
and
Young
and popular
Toenail.
culture kind of, yeah, yeah. So I was young Nelson would be trying to say like young peacemaker without saying being corny, So I was like, young Nelson had a nice feel to it as well. Like the hip hop young has got that, And also if you think about it, I was like, I can't be like Nelson man, or like
Yeah.
Hero man or Africa man. So I was like, having had the USA kind of monopolize heroes kind of made me say I need to be creative with the name, because if you take a captain, they'll be like, you're doing the whole American thing. If you say this man, it's got that
Special.
cheesy,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, I think everywhere from the name, I was inspired by hip hop. From the lyrics to the song, I looked at a lot of even Letambulu's "Not Yet Uhuru" was an inspiration
Hmm.
to say. I was looking for that, you know, message. I wanted to kind of tell a story with the song. So I was listening to a lot of storytellers and yeah, just trying to see if I could kind of even the Boondocks theme song. That was also very inspired. I was like, I want to create a theme song that could be like a theme song for like a series that I would hear every kind of month or every week and know that that's like yeah that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is so. Yeah, no, that is so cool. No, I really like the song, and I would suggest checking it out. It's also on the YouTube channel, right? Like I saw it was on the YouTube
Yeah,
channel as well. I'll put links to all of that
yeah,
stuff in the description as well, and I'll have your social medias underneath you guys as well, so people can just be like, oh, all right, I'm gonna go to Instagram, I'm gonna go to Twitter, and I'm gonna just drop them a follow over there. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I see a
thank you.
lot of like hip hop in your stuff, and that also was something that attracted me because like a lot of people don't like. First off and foremost, we have to admit that hip hop kind of came from here, the whole drums and everything. Like if you just take
Yeah,
it, if you just take a drum, you can be coming up with a hip
Mhm.
hop beat on the spot. Like I've done that before.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I felt
Mhm.
like that
yeah,
rhythm and all of that stuff. Like and the white people don't get mad. I'm sorry, but
yeah,
get that ring,
It is
Fitch.
what
I'm
it
just
is.
saying we we
Yeah.
we have we have rhythms within us. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
yeah,
Definitely. So like hip hop for me, I feel like the roots are here, and they just took it there, and then they came up with a whole other thing because historical
Mm.
reasons that I will not get into because otherwise I'll be in a lot of trouble.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, with your
I'd
story,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with you that hip hop has a very special place in our psychology, in our hearts, and in a way, I don't really look at it as like it being any different from our praise song singers this side. You know, our if you listen to the praise song singers singing the praises of kings and so forth, it's no different. The only difference is it adapts to the culture. So American culture is about praising yourself. You know, it's got that self braggadocious type of feel. So the energy is different, but the concept is the same. It's about praise. It's about telling your story. It's about the great griot. You know, so yeah, I'd agree with you that really is just translating African culture into English, you know. So hip hop is more popular because it's in America where obviously that's where the media is. But definitely if we had a stronger media this side, you would not be able to see the difference in terms of the way the cultures are, you know. So we share with each other and I think that's beautiful.
No, I'm definitely. That's why even with this
Yeah.
podcast, I have like American people in my audience, and I've been showing them a lot of South African stuff because I'm like I don't have an audience here, but I have an audience there, so I can take stuff from here and push it there. So that's where a lot of this conversation and the books and everything, and I'm going to be posting Instagram posts and all of that stuff to my American audience as well because they apparently are rocking with me. So I'm going to take it wherever it comes from. I'm just making sure that South Africa's got to go to the world as well. Now, there's things that I need to ask you guys because you've been mentioning a lot of cartoons, a lot of like. So I just need to know: do you have a top five cartoons, like top five cartoons or comic book shows or something like that? Just the top five if you have it. Because the way you guys talk about this stuff, you're super knowledgeable. Like you're referencing stuff where I'm like, I didn't know he knew. Like I thought I was the only one who knew that.
So this is across anime, comic books, and
Yes.
animation
Well,
across all.
animation in general, but if you want to stick to cartoons or if you want to stick to a particular thing and name five things from there, or you can do it how you like. You can do it how you like, basically.
Okay, so it's not in any, yeah, it's not in any particular order. Um, I loved Hercules,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Disney animated series. Tarzan. I know there's undertones there, but I love the way that he would skate, especially the animated series. The way he
Yeah.
would skate on the trees.
Yeah, the
That was
animated
dope.
one, not the live actions.
Mm.
The live
Oh,
action.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no. The way he looked like he was like skateboarding on trees and the vines. I
Yeah.
mean, the visuals. I would, you know, um, I think Ben 10 as well. I also respect the artistic the impact that it has on audiences, you know. Captain
Hey,
America.
are you talking about here? Because Ben 10 here means something else. It doesn't mean that.
But for me the fact that a middle-aged woman knows the words Ben 10 and knows the connotation just blew my mind. It said to me, I want young Nelson to be like that. For you to not even be for that demographic and have
Yeah.
meaning in that demographic. That's why if young Nelson means something to some old guy like who has no business reading the comic book, but he refers to some young guy as a young Nelson because of the connotation, I would be proud, man.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll be
yeah.
honest. For me, when people say Ben 10, I'll be so popular that he takes on a different meaning altogether. So I
So
love Ben 10 for that. That very fact is the reason why I as a creative, I yearn to have that level of success. A Captain America,
yeah.
and I think Peppa Pig as well. Uh, but
Okay.
for creative reasons. So yeah, the Peppa Pig and Ben 10. Please understand, this is from an appreciation as a creative, studying how the guy who came up with such a simple yet effective, project. And I think I aspire to create work like that. So yeah.
All my American people are going to be so confused. What's wrong with Ben 10? Yeah, don't worry about it. Just.
We'll explain later.
Yeah.
Wait, all right, Umpile, your top five if you got him, top five or five anything like across mediums.
Um, yeah, I'd also say for me it's in no particular order. Um, I till this day I have yet, and look, I'm willing to get in a fight for this. I
Okay,
I
we're
feel
fighting
like
now.
yeah, no, I feel like Naruto is one of the best stories I've ever like been privy to.
Hey,
uh
I tried to do shadow clone
character.
jutsu in fit. I know. I tried.
Same,
I was in
bro.
the mirror.
Just yeah. Yeah, same here, bro. Like I still catch myself like, bruh, you know. So for me, the character development, bro. The time they took when they didn't life out a lot of characters, but the ones they lifed out were the ones, and you can't even. So, so for me, that's yeah, I'd say that's right up there. The Boondocks, I really did enjoy it. I did go through a phase where I was a bit of a Riley at one point, so had to, you know, uh, had to kind of outgrow that. But Boondocks, Spider-Man, that's I think that was the first action figure I ever owned. My dad bought me this little cassette tape, and I would play it every day, bro, like every day. And not too long ago, my little brother and I went back to the old house and we found it, and I played it for him, and I could like still remember like the dialogue, and I was still like acting out the scene. So that would probably be the third one I'd note. I always say Peppa Pig is the El Chapo of like where we're trying to get to like like
What is
people are
Peppa
sleeping on
Pig
Peppa
doing
Pig.
out here?
And Joe, watch, and Joe, look at the now. Check the scoreboard, bro. Peppa Pig is winning. So I'll always give props to Peppa Pig, man. Like she's killing it. And so I think those about maybe might be top three. I mean top four. Last but not least, I don't think I ever got to read a comic book, but I genuinely did catch the movie, obviously Black Panther, and it has to be there as a reference point, for us going forward.
I would
So
definitely
I think you
suggest.
noted that you read some comic books.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest checking out those books. Like some of the stuff, it
Yeah.
can be sometimes, but most of it, even the stuff that Stan Lee did, he at least tried to
Mm,
put in a serious
mm,
amount of research and everything. And the books themselves, the characters
yeah.
themselves, and the world that
Yeah.
he set up, it's for a white dude, especially
Yeah.
who didn't have to do that at all. He could have never made that
Yeah.
character whatsoever.
Yeah.
I still, yeah, I
Yeah.
that's personally for me. That's why I was a huge Stan Lee fan, just coming up and everything
Mm,
Mm,
outside of Spider Man,
yeah.
because Black
Yeah.
mm,
Panther was a huge departure from all the stuff he created, and I was just like, you
mm.
and I mean, he made this guy like a serious. It wasn't like it was a joke or anything, any
Nah.
sense of the
Yeah,
way.
he
So
pulled out
yeah,
all the stops.
Yeah.
yeah, he pulled out all the
Yeah.
stops. But I definitely think that now it's time for us to pick up the torch for ourselves and stop looking to other
Yeah.
Yeah.
people to create our stories, which is something that you guys are
Definitely.
doing really, really well. And from all the stuff you've been talking about, I can see that you actually have a legitimate passion for it. It's not like when people just jump in and they're like, I can make some money, nyana, I can draw on some paper and 100,000. No, it's not something like that. You guys legitimately like some people, they want to come in and they're just like, I can just, it's like, no, that's not how it works. You have to, this is hard.
Yeah.
This is hard. Like,
Yeah.
It's work, man. It's
Yeah.
work.
it's
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 work.
work.
a lifetime of
Mm,
sacrifice. Yeah.
Yo, like the
mm,
amount of
Yeah.
hours and the stuff you have to put aside to do this.
mm,
Like, so for me,
mm.
Yeah.
I'm here to support you guys 100% of the way. 100% of the
Thanks,
way.
bro.
Thank you.
So
Thanks, bro.
do you guys have anything you want to say to young South African creatives who are seeing you do this, and maybe they're just like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I think it's just an American thing, which it's not. But do you guys have, as people who are in it, do you have any like advice for them or just any departing words?
Mm,
Yeah, my first thing would be that when it comes to creativity, the beauty of it is that no one can think the way you think about any particular idea, you know. And I think that's sometimes what I've realized, that sometimes, like I was saying, when you get into a space when you have to now expose your creativity, you sometimes don't fail because you don't have what it takes, but because you look at other people and you kind of kill your idea before anybody else can kill it for you, you know. And I think for me, I think it's very important, and something you have to kind of reflect on is that no one has written our stories. So no one can tell you how a South African superhero looks like. Nobody can tell you how a thriving South African business in publishing, in comic book publishing looks like. So you are the pioneer, just like I can't call myself a pioneer until the industry is established. So I feel like we are all really pioneers. You know, whatever field you go into, whether you're reporting about comics, whether you're creating comics, whether you are writing stories. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. Actually, this is what being a pioneer is about. It's about us making mistakes, learning what's unique about the African market. You know, and as we're learning, you know, we're creating that database that will inspire the next generation. So if you have an idea, get started, write it down, write down, however, if it's just 2 lines, start writing, and it's almost like God does the rest. You know, if you have the faith to start, the next line, the next line, the next line, you know, until you've got your work. So yeah, so yeah, the idea is basically for you to trust the process, that we're not going to be the Stan Lees tomorrow, but we're starting today, you know, and we know that 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, we will have our Marvels, we will have our DC. So I think start. Don't be afraid of, even if you feel like it's whack, start, write it down. Tomorrow you'll build on that idea, you know, but start somewhere. So yeah, that's my words of wisdom, or my idea of where you start.
Um,
Mbile, you got anything?
I think, yeah, man. I think for me, it's honestly like just take a chance on yourself. You know what I mean? Like, um, number one, it's a free country, you know, and so just kind of like actually put that to the test. Like, actually, is it actually a free country? Like, you know, and just go. I was always like weirded out at the fact that like when I was choosing like what to study, you know, I wanted to be so many things, and it weirded me out that like I had to choose like one like thing, like marketing, poof, like because I was like, yeah, but I still want to dance and I still want to draw, like yeah. So I was just always nervous at the idea that like there's so many things I wanted to do. I look at someone like Childish Gambino who does everything, you know, and it's pretty much the kind of uh I don't know, like human experience that I want to live, you know. So
Now
for
that guy's
those like who
everywhere.
have an idea,
You.
he's everywhere,
Like he's
you
Acting,
know.
he's the director.
storytelling.
Like he does everything himself. He doesn't hire anybody. He even drives the car, bro. He doesn't
Yeah.
even hire a driver. The guy.
He's his own bodyguard.
In fact, he changed his costume same time. It's like he's walking
Yeah,
down the
Yeah.
red
yeah. So
carpet.
so the
I'm
fact that
childish.
he
I'm
does
here.
everything and like at the highest level, it it's like for me, it's like hey,
Yeah,
are you
no,
there,
we still
bro?
there. We still there. We're still good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. But yeah, for me, that the fact that he does everything at the highest level, you know, it's something for me. Like I genuinely admire and say, you know, I want to do something like that. I want my human experience to be something like that. You know, and it's crazy because like the people that are at that point, like they never get that thing out. Look, are you a dancer or an artist? Like
Mm.
Kanye, it's not like, man, do you do fashion or do you do music? It's like just do. No one questions Beyonce like, hey, I look, pick one. You can't sing and act,
Mm.
you know. And I feel like with young people, it's like choose one, like you know, which is it's I don't know. For me, it just always I just always felt like agitated about that, and so I genuinely want people to not just say, oh man, I can only write, I can't draw. It's like learn how to write, you know, learn how to draw, learn how to do, learn everything that you need to learn in order for your dream to come true. Because most times people will realize that, oh, this idea is diamond, you know, or gold, but because they have that information, they may not necessarily, they may stunt your growth in a way. You know, like I always say, we had the young Nelson idea, but you know, the person that we were dependent from like the beginning stages on somebody to bring it to life, and they didn't bring it to life the way like I thought about it. You know, and it's like, you know what, I need to learn how to do this so I can, what's in my mind, I can, you know, push it out. So I just want young people to take a chance on themselves. To know that the path, like the one where you're following your dreams, it's harder than the one where you don't. And to just mentally be prepared for that, for the fact that, like, my idea will be tested, but like I need to push through. So that will probably be maybe my advice, man, for young people to take a chance on themselves, to just say, "Okay, what would happen if I created this, or if I followed the path that I want to follow?" But obviously do your homework as well. Like, no, okay, for me to do a comic book, I need to, look into the publishing space and this and that. So acquire knowledge, yeah.
Now and that's also something that's kind of prevalent in your book as well. Like the way you guys wrote Young Nelson, I could feel that whole thing of learning and knowing and all of that stuff. So it's good to see that it's reflected in your personalities.
Mm,
And I definitely want to co-sign on that. Like you guys can see this YouTube channel. I've been on YouTube for 3 years. And like a lot of people first discouraged me the
yeah.
first time around. Actually, I've been on the internet for, let me say, 5, and a lot of people discouraged me. They were saying, no, you must look for this job, you must, and I mean, I got the job, but I never stopped. I never
Yeah,
stopped
yeah,
putting out
Yeah.
content. I never stopped recording videos. I just never stopped.
Yeah.
And that's like how I knew i
Yeah.
was
yeah.
i was meant to do this for the rest of my life. Like once I can replace my, oh, they must not mess up and let me get 100,000 subscribers, I will quit tomorrow. I will walk into that business and I will be like, here's my resignation, and I will not show up for the
Yeah.
rest
Yeah.
of the week. You ain't playing with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you got me
Yeah.
for now, but yeah, you must just pray they don't give me 100,000 subscribers. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we done here. But yeah, definitely that whole thing of taking a chance on yourself, of telling your story, because no one can tell it the way you tell it. No one can tell it the way you tell it. I definitely believe in that stuff.
Yeah,
I
man.
definitely believe in that stuff. And you have to keep going. Like if it's in you, it's in you. Like if it's in you, if it's
Yeah.
the thing that makes you get up in the morning, like if it's the thing
Mm,
that it drives your soul. Like you don't go to a job and give up if this thing is in you.
Mm,
That's all I want to
yeah.
say as well, because like that's what
mm,
happens. And then we wonder why America has all the stories, because the people who have the
Mm,
stories here, they want to just say, no, I need to drive taxis, or no, I need to go get this accounting job. It's like, first of all, also there's a lot of money in this thing. Like there's a lot of money.
mm,
It is so
mm,
much money, it's ridiculous. Like action figures, you know how
mm.
much an action figure costs? A Batman action figure, I saw one for 1,200 rand, and someone bought it in J.
I can,
1,200 rand for
and
a toy you can't play with, bro.
uh, yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Mm,
and that's the beauty, and that's what I'm saying. It's a dormant market, It's such a, I'm like, it's crazy, there's the biblical verse that says, we perish because of a lack of knowledge, and it's true. It's not that I mean, the raw material is the imagination. So all you really need to do is sit guys like us in front of, for example, kids with these heroes, tell them the stories. Once they're hooked, that's an education syllabus already. You just put a Batman there, Spider-Man there, and teach 1+1, teach ABC.
No,
But
my,
yeah,
my
man,
my teacher
it's
did that actually. Like I hated geometry,
yeah,
so she took a batarang and she was like, find the
yeah.
area under this
wow.
thing. And I was like, where? Let me
Yeah.
find this thing.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Versus a triangle,
And it
because
added flavor.
it
Yeah,
worked. It worked. I passed that year. Like so
yeah,
they put a try, like I hated that thing of maths. You, where they would say find the
yeah.
area under the triangle. I don't care about this area under the I don't care.
Yeah.
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 And
That, yeah.
and Yeah, and looking at for example, how the Americans, and I don't blame that spectacle type of culture where we kind of look to other cultures for inspiration. I think we imitate before we originate. So
Mm.
maybe we should actually be excited that, what, we can actually draw from other cultures. If you look at DC, it came before Marvel, but Marvel, in my opinion, is kind of like the one that's popping right now. So I think it can be like that. That Americans can start it, but it doesn't mean we can't kind of elevate it and put our own spin on that space. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to how we become superheroes to the younger generation come behind us. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely see it coming, and yeah, that thing also is like there's no more like the originality and creativity, especially at this point in the game. It's about taking inspiration and making it yours. Like you
Yeah.
can't come up with like imagine trying to come up with a new
Oh, yeah.
superpower.
Yeah.
Just a new power that no one's
Yeah.
seen. It's
It,
impossible.
you know,
It's important. Like he runs fast. Flash. He
Yeah.
yeah.
has
It's
gadgets.
like
Batman.
football. No one tries to reinvent the step over. You master it. I mean, no one says to Ronaldo, come up with your own skill move, He doesn't have to. He just learns and practices and does it his own way.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think that's the beauty.
I
I
mean,
think we just
the
have to
only
set
way
up
that would
the
happen, the only way that would happen is if he grows another foot. Like he has to have 3 feet
yeah.
to
You could
come.
actually slow him down, but I get what you mean.
Like he has to grow another leg or something must change if he must come with new skills now
You know?
because like everybody it's been done so you just have to do it your way like there's no other way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But thank you guys
Yeah.
for yeah, thank you guys for being here so much. This was a lot of fun, technical issues aside, because that happens all the time everywhere. I can't tell you how many times my stuff is cut out during this doing this stuff. Oh, my first podcast was a nightmare, bro. There was
Yeah.
echo, there was everything. It was just so, but I mean, that aside and everything, you guys have been great guests. You've left a lot of gems, and I really do believe that you are inspirational. And I can see Young Nelson as a movie. I can see Young
Yeah.
Nelson as a cartoon series, and I can definitely see Young Nelson as a tool to teach parts about our history that get neglected. Because that's something that I'm 25 years old, and I'm upset that I only found out about Chris Honey was working with the ANC now. Like 25 years of life, and I only found out about Chris Honey stuff now. That's no, that's so I definitely look forward to stuff like your stuff, like helping and pushing the conversation along. It's a great tool, and I wish you guys all the success. I wanted to say thank you guys for being here so much. It's been amazing. You guys have been awesome guests. You've left a lot of gems, you've left a lot of things for people to reference and have a look at. And I definitely see Young Nelson becoming a juggernaut in comic book culture and comic book nature and all of that thing. I definitely see Young Nelson taking over, and I definitely see you guys being Stan Lee's in your own right. So
Yeah.
I just yeah, like keep pushing, keep putting out the content. I'm here to support it. I'm gonna make sure other people support it, and I'm gonna be pushing it out to my other people across the borders and the seas, because I definitely know
Sure.
they're going to rock with this stuff as well. I definitely know that
Sure.
for a
Thank
fact
you.
myself.
Thanks, man.
So yeah, and I just want to say you are being very inspirational, and I'm telling you, people out here see you. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. I know for me, sometimes it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like anybody's watching, but then there's always
Yeah.
somebody who's watching, and there's always somebody who's buying. So definitely, I can't wait to see
Yeah.
you guys take Young Nelson just to new heights and new levels. So, is there anything you want to leave Meisterville with before we leave?
Thank you so much. We're working on issue 2 at the moment, close to completion, and I think Umpile will give you further information on that. And I think once that's out, then obviously we'll be better able to communicate our launch strategy going forward. But thank you so much to your audience for listening, and thank you for the opportunity for this platform as well.
Yeah. Same thing on my side, but yeah. So we were nearly done. I think we were pretty much wrapping up the like how the story flows of the second issue, just to make sure it reads well. And then from then on, it's the cleaning up process, before just putting that stamp and having it, being good to go. So as soon as that's out, I'll definitely let you know, bro. And yeah, man, I just genuinely want to take the time out to thank you as well for your time, for making sure that our stories are heard as well as other creatives. And yeah, Pamela and I have been talking about like launches and stuff like that, and we'd honestly love to also have you in there for like the pre-book launches and like, you know, that exclusive. So we definitely have your number and we'll make use of it in the near future.
Thank you, thank you. I'm here for it. I'm here for it,
Thank
Chiefs.
you.
I'm the
Thank
speakerphone.
you so much.
Just
Yeah,
hit me up, and I will help you guys out with that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I could even like
definitely,
I could
bro.
even
Awesome.
we could even talk
Definitely.
about an advertising strategy, because I've been using some advertising strategies for my own stuff that
Yeah.
I could share with you guys just around your book and
Yeah.
everything, which I think
All
would
right.
do pretty well as well.
Sounds
You
good.
know, in my personal opinion. But yeah,
Sounds
man,
good.
thank you,
Awesome.
thank you, thank you, thank you again for being here. And with that being said, Rainbow Nation Comics and Meisterman have to be out. Peace, 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 peace.
Peace.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Peace. Peace.
you.